Everyone, and welcome to another local transfer show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. Before we talk about transfers today, we have to discuss the match that took place yesterday as Liverpool faced Leeds United at Anfield. The match was the first game of the new year, so you're expecting Liverpool to kick the new year with a bang. Did we do that? Absolutely not. We did the total opposite and produce the same diabolical football that we have been playing for the large parts of the season. So during the show, we'll do a quick match review of last night's game, and then we will speak about a few transfer rumors that have been circulating. One is for the summer, and another one has been linked with a move to the club for this window. So yeah, lots to talk about today. So let's crack on and let's talk about the game in general from yesterday. Quite frankly, the best way I could describe that football was boring. It was absolutely boring to watch. Just looking at the team selection, you've got two right backs playing together. You've got Bradley and Frimpong. In other days, I don't really mind that formation, especially if you look at the current squad. But for this game, playing against a midfield five or a back five, how you want to label it, hmm, we should have gone a bit more attack minded. You've had the likes of Gakpo and Chiesa that could have started the game and made the difference, in my opinion. But you know, and I'm not blaming certain players for their role. Like Frimpong, for example, actually had a decent game. Excuse me, but he wasn't supposed to be the playmaker. He wasn't supposed to be the guy that does everything on that right hand side. His job was to provide width and some creativity on that right hand flank. But you look at the other side in terms of Florian Wirtz. The other day had a really good game. In this match, really, really poor. Am I going to blame it on his positional play where he's been playing on the left? Not entirely. I just feel like he had one of those off days, but I do feel like the more he's improving in terms of adapting to the physicality of the league and the speed of the way the game is played, he's tailor made for that number 10 role. So we just need to move him in there and try and find a solution where you can fit both Florian Wirtz and Szoboszlai. But that's not the problem. We look at the way we played yesterday, barely created any chances. You look at the first half, Ekitike had that chance where he went inside the box, quite on his left foot, hit a tame effort on goal, if I'm being honest. Had another, I don't know what to call it to fair. It was a more, felt like more of a defensive clearance than anything else. When Frimpong whipped in a left foot cross inside the box, and I just think he completely misjudged the contact on the ball there. And Van Dijk had a good chance, I would say, in the second half, where he had a header from a Szoboszlai corner, bounced towards the goal, but unfortunately went wide. So that was a strong opportunity scored there. But we didn't create a lot of chances, to be quite honest. And a lot of people, especially from what I've seen online, have been saying a lot of things about Ekitike in terms of his performance yesterday. I just don't feel like he was given the service. He's a striker, even though he has the capabilities of dropping deep and playing that sort of 9.5 role. The likes of Benzema and Karim Benzema and Harry Kane are renowned for. You know, in this game, it felt like he just couldn't get much on the ball, so that's why he had to drop deeper, more so than not. So I don't think his overall performance was great, but I feel like he was lacking the service, and that's been one of our issues this season. We just don't have the creativity. We don't just have that attacking prowess in our team, and we brought on a young 17-year-old towards the latter stage of the game, and he pretty much did what no one can do in his team, and that is take on the fullback. We've got two wingers on paper in terms of Gakpo and Salah that are good in terms of end product, but they don't really stretch the opponents. They don't take on the fullback. And I feel like that has been a bit of an issue for us because we're not able to stretch teams and we're playing a sort of a boring and predictable style of football where teams have sussed us out, quite frankly. So for me, some will say he's inexperienced, and I will probably go along with that. I think Rio, at this stage of his career, is not quite ready to play in the first team week in, week out. But when you're in a situation like this, where no one can, you know, attack the fullback on the flank, you have to utilize your options. And I think alongside Chiesa, Rio needs to be given a chance Whether Armstrong will provide those opportunities for the young player remains to be seen. And if I'm being quite honest with you guys, I highly doubt he will. And look, I've said it many times during the course of this season. I think we made a big flop in the summer. We didn't replace Luis Diaz, and he's cooking the Bundesliga right now. He's got 20 GAs in 22 games. Like, people say we don't need new signings. Uh, Honestly, we do, and people might not want to hear it because we spent so much money in the summer. But our team is so unbalanced, and I think a few tweaks will definitely resolve that. But in terms of what we have, in terms of the squad and the current coach, Slot's tactics are quite simply diabolical. This is prime Hodgson ball, very negative, very ultra defensive tactics. We played like the newly promoted team yesterday, let alone representing who we are at the minute. And look, I'm not a coach, but when you're playing a low block team, you counter that by playing an attacking formation. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. And I don't know why Arne Slot doesn't assess that when he develops these tactics or when he creates a system for these players. And look, I've been saying it for a number of weeks. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a watch along the other day. Probably that was a good thing from my point of view, but I don't enjoy watching Liverpool anymore. We're so cautious in our setup. You wouldn't believe we're Premier League champions. That's how poor we've been this season. And look, I've said it countless amount of times that this coach needs to be changed. But at the same time, I've also said that I know the reality. He won't be moved on until the end of the summer. And he will go on and say to you guys, well, we've not lost in the last 8 games. So that's going to be his defense. I don't agree with that because it's not just looking at score lines thinking, oh, he's doing a great job. We're watching these games every week and we're seeing the level of play, quite frankly, getting worse and worse. I don't think it's improving one bit. So just to put it out there, I'm going to present the question. Should Armstrong be sacked? Absolutely, he should be sacked. I've said that for months he should have been dismissed as far back as October, November. What I think the club needs to do now is review his position again. Whether they like it or not, whether it makes business sense or not, it needs to be done. Just look over at Chelsea. They've dismissed Maresca. Maybe that was down to personalities clashing, whatever the reasons are. I don't quite frankly care. All I care about is that we need to look at these other clubs and see how they operate. We need to be cutthroat like Chelsea and dismiss this coach because he's simply not good enough. So I've said it quite a few times, and I don't want to keep saying the same thing every show because it seems a bit disrespectful that I want our current coach to be dismissed. You never want someone to be sacked. But if I have to say it, I will say it, and I'll say it again on record. He needs to be moved on because nothing's going to change. His tactics do not fit the Liverpool way. Not even that. Let's just look at the squad. Let's just look at it from a logical point of view. The talent we have in our squad are not made for this type of football. Slot ball died a long time ago, but we're still holding on to it like it may come to life at some point. Newsflash, it won't. This is Arne Slot's way of playing. He's inherited a great squad from Jurgen Klopp and continued and carried on that way of playing to suit the squad that he had last season. This season, he's been able to make adjustments, and quite frankly, he's just digressed completely, whether that's from a coaching point of view or in terms of how the team is performing. As a whole, we've moved backwards, and that's a bit of a worrying sight for a club like Liverpool Football Club. So for me, a change needs to be made. Whether FSG have the balls to do it, we'll soon find out. But we can have that discussion, I'm sure, in the upcoming shows. No player ratings today because quite frankly, all of them were awful, so I can't be bothered to go through each and one of them. So we'll move on. We'll read some of the comments, and then we'll wrap up the show and do some transfer talk. As you know, it's January now, so there will be a lot of rumors circulating, and I believe Liverpool need reinforcement. So there's some news running around today that we can discuss. But before that, let's go through the comments as well. Ozzie, big up Ozzie. Said, bro, Ozzie, your client didn't have a good game. Not gonna lie, no, he didn't. He had a poor game, to be fair. But he wasn't the only one. There were many that were worse. if not, no. So a lot worse than him, to be fair. Well, big up boys. Ozzy got to be an 8 hour this after so many days off. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have an 8 hour show. Um, it's quite frankly, I don't know what else to say other than the obvious that we are playing terrible, terrible football. It's as simple as that. Well, also, if we lose to Fulham, Ozzy, what will happen? And we'll, by the way. Do you know what the Fulham fixture I am concerned about? I plan on doing a match preview tomorrow, so we'll talk about that game in more detail. But I agree, the Fulham game, I am a little bit concerned about that one. And the Arsenal one, look, if I'm being honest with you guys, Arsenal haven't been playing great football, bar that result against Aston Villa. That was a statement win, to be fair. And their confidence is going to be sky high. So we've got to deliver. We've got to perform. We've got to perform to a level that we haven't done this season. And are we able to do that under this coach? I don't think so. This is what I've said. I believe FSG need to review his position again. They can't simply think from a business point of view. They have to come up with a short-term solution. If the long-term solution on paper is not available right now, just find someone else because I just feel like the gap is so big right now, and especially if we lose to Arsenal, then if anyone, and you guys will know, I've not really said this for quite some time. I don't believe we're in the title. We've not been in the title race for months now. But if you hold on to some sort of dear life or some sort of glimmer of hope that we could go on a title charge, honestly, that game will pretty much nail the coffin. We're 12 points away right now. We've all played equal games. 19 games have been played. We're halfway through the season. So this is crunch time. This is make or break in terms of how you perform, especially in this month where games are going to come thick and fast. I just don't have confidence in the way we play. And quite frankly, I think we'll be lucky to even qualify for top four. That's how I'm seeing it right now. So title, it's delusion. And I don't mean to be rude if I say that if you have the belief that we can challenge for title, I don't mean to be disrespectful. But that's how I see it. I think that is delusion to think we can even go anywhere near that that position right now. So if he was to lose against Fulham and Arsenal, look, you guys know my views in terms of Arnold. So I've been wanting him sacked for months. And I don't. That sounds very rude to say. You don't want someone sacked. You got to think on a human level. That's not a nice thing to say out loud. But this is football. We're talking from a football point of view, and I've wanted him sacked for about 3 months, 2, 3 months now. So no. If that Arsenal game is the nail in the coffin, then so be it. I just don't know what FSG stance is right now because they don't really release this sort of information. We're not supposed to know this sort of stuff from the outside. On paper, you would assume he gets a sack, but if they're not willing to make a change or they don't see a suitable candidate to replace him for the foreseeable future, they won't do it. So that's the big point there. Abel says, is this the football you are happy with, Ozzy, since you were praising and defending Slot last time? I don't remember defending Slot last time. I may have given him some credit in terms of how the team was set up, but I don't remember praising him. To be quite honest with you, if you've got receipts, feel free to drop timestamps on the last show or whatnot. I don't mind going through that, but no, I feel like I've voiced my stance on Arsenal very clear. I've been slot out for quite a while. I don't feel I need to have a pretty shirt to let you know how I feel. But no, I've not been impressed. But if Liverpool do win, I'm going to take the positives out of the game. It's just normal nature to do that. I'm not going to be ultra negative because I don't like the coach. I've voiced it quite a few times. I'm fed up of the coach, and I quite frankly hate doing watch alongs now. But of course, being a content creator and something that I've set up for this season, I'm going to continue doing it. But I don't enjoy doing those shows anymore because it's such a boring watch. It really is. I'm not just talking from a content creation point of view. I'm talking about just sitting down as a fan watching that football. That is not the brand of football I want to ever see in Liverpool colours. That is not the way to go. So no, I'm definitely not happy with this level of football. I've not been happy for a long time with this level of football. and things need to change. But as fans, we can only voice these concerns. But the reality that we should know in terms of how our owners move as owners and as businessmen, they don't make hasty decisions. They pretty much are very calculating what they do. So we'll have to wait and see in terms of what their next move is. Hopefully, it's for the good of the club and they move still on because, quite frankly, nothing is improving. Yes, we're not losing many games, but we're not winning games. And we're not winning them in any convincing manner. That's my concern. It's all good and well having the stats to say you haven't lost in the last eight and all that sort of stuff. But we've been terrible. You've got to put context into it. We drew to Leeds. Leeds have got 2 draws out of us this season. That's not acceptable. So let's see what FSG do. Look at what Chelsea done. They've not performed that well in recent weeks. In the last 5, 3 draws, 1 win, one loss, and they've sacked the manager. They've had enough of him, and they're bringing what's his name, Liam Rezenoir. They're bringing him back. Well, they're not bringing him back. He was hired as a coach for Strasbourg, which is of course their one of their feeder clubs, but they're going to bring him to the big seat in terms of as a Chelsea head coach, and he's not quite. He's done really well for Strasbourg this season. But why can't we get someone like a Steven Gerrard just for a temporary basis? That's what I'm looking at going forward. But we'll soon find out what is the stance of the owners and if Slot remains as coach for the foreseeable future. Bo says Slot has ruined the Anfield atmosphere. I do agree with you. Um, Ozzie says, "Yo, Ozzie, got a tan?" I haven't. I've been in the UK, so I've just been away with the family. But I haven't haven't gone abroad. I've been in the UK and it's not been sunny at all. In fact, it was snowing today. So yeah, definitely not got a tan. Man was definitely in the beach of IP. But hey, you never know. You might see a selfie of me and Arnold Slot at some point in the year. If someone leaks that, hopefully not. But yeah, Boss and Man was in Stockholm town. Yeah, I might have been. Stock might have been with me, in the early days of this week. So you never know. Whilst reports are coming out that Stock will leave regardless. Alan receiving thoughts. Well, I'm going to take a positive out of a negative situation, to be fair, but I think it needs to be done sooner. That is my point of view. I think it needs to be done sooner. But if that's the case, that's good news to an extent. But will that end up looking like a mistake? What if we don't qualify for top four? But we're going to look at in hindsight. The owners will look at it more so than us because I think large parts of the fan base are not happy with the coach this season, and a lot of us have voiced our frustration and have said that we don't want him at the club. But they've not really taken that sort of feedback on board, and they've decided to keep him on from a business point of view or maybe financially because they have to pay him a large compensation package. I don't know, whatever the reasons are, but something needs to change. And right now, you mentioned it earlier on, the Anfield atmosphere has gone down quite a bit. Unfortunately, it's going to continue. So if they want to bring that good feel factor back, bring Steven Gerrard on an interim basis. That's what I would do. Boss says Sobo was rubbish yesterday as well. Yeah, he was. Not a lot of them were great. Let's be quite frank. No one was really good yesterday. Ozzy, bro, did you forget the sun? No, I did not forget the sun cream. Boss said, don't you think Rio deserves more game time after yesterday, Ozzy, or are you still against playing youngsters? I'm never against playing youngsters. In fact, we'll be speaking about youngster later on in the show. But no, um, I've made my stance on Rio quite clear, and I'll repeat so it's clear for everyone to know. I don't think Rio is quite ready for the first team. That's been my opinion since preseason, and I was very impressed with him in preseason. Really, really impressed. Just because I feel like there's parts of his game where he needs to be a bit more tactically aware in terms of placing the final pass or in build-up play, end product still needs working on. But look, he's 17 years old. Of course, that is an area where he will improve the more experience he gains. He's not gaining experience from being on the bench. Yes, coaches might say, well, look, he can sit on the bench and, watch the game and learn from that. But then again, he's a spectator like us. So that's not going to help his development on a physical point of view. So I said this earlier in the season. I feel like he should have remained for the under 23s and just played week in, week out training at that level, only because he's 17 and he'll be playing up against players 5, 6, and maybe even more years older than him. Because with under 23s, you can bring in experienced players from the first team squad. So with that, you're still able to play at a men's level. It might not be the highest level, but you can still learn and improve. And then this would have been the time that I would have brought him into the first team squad, i.e., when Salah is on AFCON, we have an extra attacker that can be an option off the bench. Now, that was my theory. Slot has kept him on board. So Rio is training with the first team squad, which is fine. But if you are training with the first team squad, you are more than ready to come in whenever called upon. You should be fighting for a spot in the starting lineup. And I feel like there's been multiple times this season where he's not been given opportunity. And when he has been playing, it's been times where he's required to be a savior. Even in this fixture against Leeds United, it's 0-0, but he's expected to change the game. That's not how you manage a 17-year-old. So that is something that needs to improve. But that's not that you can tell from a coach's point of view. He's not a coach focused on youth development, in my opinion. I might be completely wrong. Someone may counter and say, well, at Feyenoord, he did this, he did that. But at Liverpool, I haven't seen it. So I'm going to go based on what he's done at Liverpool. Could not care less about his past history. So for me, in terms of how he's managing young players, he's not doing a great job. And I feel like Rio should be given an opportunity. But he's got this obsession of playing Gakpo week in, week out, whenever fit. And because of that, and because he's got a favourite, that position is never vacant for a player like Rio or Chiesa in this matter. So that's the problem there. If you had a coach that would allow to get players in the team based on rotation or however they want to phrase it, I feel like that should be the way we manage our squad. We have a lot of talent in every role and we can rotate a little bit more, in my opinion, but we haven't done this season. And our tactics have not been the way we've deployed since last season. Last season, our tactics were quite different. Of course, we were a little bit more different in terms of build-up play from the Jurgen Klopp days, but we still play really good counter-pressing football. This season, we have no energy to even play that level of football. And, some will say, well, that's probably down to the players. They don't have the legs for it. All 25 players in our squad can't just, lose their legs all of a sudden. They're not all 40 years old. Do you get what I'm saying? So this is something that needs to change, but I don't feel like this is the coach to take us forward. And that's one of the reasons as well, because a club like Liverpool will always try and find hidden gems all over the world. But if my coach doesn't play those young players or doesn't give them the pathway or an opportunity to at least play some games, what's the point of getting these young players through? So I need a coach that's going to empower these young players, give them a pathway, give them the encouragement to play in the first team, or use someone as an example, like a Rio, and then that could be, don't want to use this phrase, but like the poster boy of the club, where young players or young talent all over the world can see Liverpool as a destination to develop and evolve as a player. These things make a big difference, especially if you're trying to sign young players and you're trying to sell the project. If you can use these players as an example, they'll definitely choose you above anyone else. But we're slightly ruining that image based on our current coach, and that's why I want him gone. So, in terms of your question, I definitely want to see Rio playing a lot more, especially with no Mohamed Salah and with Gakpo just returning from injury. We need to have that kind of rotation in our team. Ozan says Rio played more intimidating than any other winger. That's facts. Haram ball, yeah, it is. That's probably a better description. It is haram ball, to be fair. Are you finding slot out, Ozzy? Come on, bro. Now you're just taking a mic. I've been slot out since November. I can literally upload a short video that I made on social media weeks ago. So I've been slot out for a very, very long time. Bolton, he will be sad if we lose the next 5 games, Ozzy. I hope so. I hope so. Ozzy says, I don't know how starting people are still justifying this. I have not been on social that much today or yesterday, and I haven't really been watching a lot of fan channels this week. I've just been busy with the family, so I don't know if the stance is still slot in, slot out from a lot of fans. If they're slotting, like I always say, guys, respect everyone's opinion. As long as they can explain why they're slotting. But I don't understand that, if I'm being honest with you, because if you think this is acceptable, I really don't have an answer for that. I'm lost for words because this is not acceptable, especially if you've been a Liverpool fan for the last 10 years. I don't know how old everyone is, but let's say in the last 10 years, you would have seen some of the best football we've produced probably ever in our history. And I'm only going as far as the 90s because that's when I supported the team. But in my lifetime, the level of play that we played under Jurgen Klopp, there's nothing unmatched. So if you think this is acceptable, then you probably thought Hodgson ball was acceptable as well. And for me, if that's your entertainment of football, if that's the brand of football you want to see, you might be supporting the wrong club. I don't mean to be rude, but you might be supporting the wrong club because that's not a team that is regarded as an elite team across the world. That's not Liverpool Football Club. That's not our DNA. We don't play football like that. I know everyone's DNA is different based on the cultures they have, but you look at our history. There's a reason why one of the most successful teams in the world, in this country, definitely. That's not even an argument. But in the world, we can stand toe to toe with most teams because we've won so many trophies. We're the most successful. We've got the biggest fan base in this country. In terms of business, we're up there as well. So in any spectrum that you're looking at it, we're on the rise. If that makes sense, we're always on top. Pause. But in terms of being slot in, slot out, like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I need explanations if you're slot in because I can't support this. Being a content creator, if I'm struggling to do watch alongs, that should give you some sort of reflection on how I see the game right now because this is not what I want to watch. And this is not me being a selfish fan. I know a lot of fans are feeling the same way. I'm sure you guys in the chat are feeling the same way as well. This is not acceptable. This is not the brand of football that we label as the way Liverpool should play. That is not the way. That is not our identity at all. So something needs to change. And if you're starting, fair play. And if you're watching, I would appreciate you mentioning or presenting your opinion. And look, you're not going to get disrespected. I've always said it on my show. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I'll always, give everyone the platform to express their views. And if you are slotting, I'd be intrigued to see why you're still slotting and why you still have hope. And no offense, I don't want to hear that he won the league last year. That's old news now. That feels like such a distant memory. It's unbelievable. The parade was not that long ago, guys, but it feels like it was a lifetime ago. That's how crazy this season has been. Well, says they are deluded. Yeah, I hear you. His personality is awful. That's what makes me want him out, not the Liverpool way. Hughes, Edwards as well. Look, they need to be held accountable in terms of number one, hiring someone like Arnold Slot, and number two, who actually wanted these players to come through. And I'm going to stand by what I say. I don't think the signings were bad this summer. I thought they were really, really good signings. But were the signings in terms of were the signings the players that Slot wanted, or were they huge and eligible signings based on data metrics and stuff? Because that for me is a failed working relationship. If the coach and the sporting director are not aligned, that's a broken relationship right there. Because for all we know, these might not be the players that Slot wanted. But then who did he want? That would be my question. So it's one of those ones where, in terms of a coach, Slot has to be responsible, hands down, to how poor we've been this season. But Hughes and Edwards will need to take some accountability for that as well. So let's see what the future holds in terms of the coach and the future of the club as well. Also, wrapping up the show, we're only 10 minutes in, bro. We're half an hour in now, so yeah, you guys have got me talking now. So yeah, it's just that I didn't want to do too much of a detailed match reaction show, just because I wasn't able to watch the game live. I had to watch it on replay, so I thought let me just sort of watch the game and just have a more of a reflective um, sort of show today, and then I'll talk about transfers. So I wasn't sure how long the show would be, so I've only got two agendas: match reaction, and I've got a couple of transfers to talk about as well. Boss says, why so short stream, Ozzy? Afraid to answer the questions. Well, I feel like I'm answering all the questions right now, so hopefully I'm living up to the bill. I see me like slot with his pre-recorded press conferences. No, I'm live. I'm live and kicking right now, so this is not recorded at all. Boss says slot will talk about how low block versus Barnsley. Bloody hell, if I hear that, even watching his press conferences are very difficult now. And I have to do it because, of course, I do match preview shows, and I need to know what he has said in those conferences to have an update in terms of the team status and if there's any news regarding the opponents or whatnot. I have to watch these conferences because of the content that I create. Quite frankly, it's a tough watch. It really, really is. Bo says Rio is a generational talent. Yeah, I believe he is. I just don't feel like we're managing him correctly, and hopefully it doesn't hamper his development going forward. He needs to be given more opportunities in the first team. I'm not saying he start week in, week out, but definitely start a few games here, come off the bench a few times here, mix and match in that regards. Ozan says, I respectfully disagree, but I believe Rio is ready to contribute. He is now. I don't think he was early in the season. I feel like my thing is more so this. Rio was basically brought into the squad to replace Luis Diaz. I can't say Rio Ngomoa is at the same level as Luis Diaz. For me, what Liverpool should have done, we should have signed a left winger to replace Luis Diaz and also have Rio Ngomoa in that role to challenge for a position. But right now, I don't know what the future. Of course, we thought we were going to get Semenyo. He's pretty much almost completed his move to Man City. So what's next? Do we wait until the summer? Looks like that could be the case. We still need to replace Luis Diaz. Ronald Gamal for me is not ready to be his replacement. In the long term, possibly, but right now I feel like we're short in terms of attackers. We just need that one more attacker that is the profile of what Diaz was, i.e., take the fullback on. None of our wingers do it anymore. Gakpo does not do that. We all know that. He's the Mr. Cut inside and shoot merchant. Like that. That's him. Salah doesn't have the dynamic speed anymore, so he's not going to take the fullback on the outside. He's going to cut in and present shots on goal. That's his game now. Or be the creative playmaker from a wing position. Chiesa, he's someone that can contribute. He doesn't get an opportunity. Whether he plays on the left or on the right, I believe he can contribute. He might not be electric, but he knows how to play that winger role to the T. So for me, we just and then if you got Rio, he's still learning the game. He's not quite there yet. Of course, now we're probably desperate to have a player like Rio because no one else can do what he can do. But for me, that's just my opinion. I don't think he's quite ready yet. But if we had Jurgen Klopp, and I don't want to go back to the past, but if we had a coach like Jurgen Klopp, I would have a lot more faith in my manager to manage this player correctly and give him more game time in the second half of the season. And if you guys remember, especially if you watch my show in the summer, that is what I said. I expected Rio to come into the first team now and be heavily involved. That's what I said in the summer. I thought for the first part, let him play for the under 23s, let him get used to playing men's football to an extent. So when he comes on in the second half of the season, he's ready for the first team. And Slott's gone with that route where he's kept him in the first team, and that could bode well in terms of him forming relationships with players in the squad. but it also needs to be reflective in terms of game time. And he's come out and said, well, he's probably got the most minutes of a 17-year-old in the Premier League. That's because you don't get many 17-year-olds playing Premier League football. And this is a talent that it is a special talent, a generational talent, if you want to label it like that. So because of that, he should have been given a lot more opportunities. So you may disagree, that's all good. I just feel like we haven't managed him correctly. If he was playing under 23s, I'm not saying he's going to be twice the player or anything like that. I just feel like he would have been a bit more refined because he would have been playing more games. And I feel like him just training is only a certain level. And sorry, back to Klopp as well. If Rio was managed by Klopp, you know how training goes under Jurgen Klopp. It's played at a very intense level. It's almost match level. So if Rio was under that regime, then he'd be more than ready for the first team right now. But I just get the feeling that Slot's training sessions are very slow paced. It's more about ball possession, you know, doing triangles in session. I don't think it's about playing with intensity or, you know, playing to that kind of level of play. I don't think that's what they work on, in my opinion. So that's a concern. And I feel like the next coach needs to drill that in the players. We need to play at a very high intense level to bring back that Gergen pressing way of playing, because that's what's going to bring us back to the top. And that's what made us different to everyone else as well. And now you've got teams replicating our format, and we're not even doing that format anymore. Um, give the kid 30 minutes a game. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll be fully on board with that. But yeah, I'll definitely be fully on board. Bolson Gakpo is tactical aware. Ozzy has got Slot as his client. I remember saying that Gakpo is tactically aware. I just said that he's the Mister cut inside shoot merchant. So if that's what you want to label as, that's I don't know. That's not what I said. To be fair, uh, Ozzy's making me move like Slot in press conferences nowadays. Oh, thank God, Gakpo is back. He will save us, guys. Maybe my mic's not working. I gotta get a new mic or something. But you guys aren't hearing me. When have I defended Gakpo now? I've just said the fact is that he is always favored by the coach. If you want to take it as that means supporting Gakpo, you can hear what you want to hear, but that's not what I said. Mostly we're gonna be like United Ozzy with Edwards in charge, signing players the manager don't want, potentially, but the difference would be that United just signed players based on reputation. They weren't the right profile players that the squad needed. So the players that we signed in the summer, I think those were players that we did need in terms of from a positional point of view. I still feel like there was a few gaps, if I'm being honest with you guys. But other than that, I don't think we're going to be moving like United. But the relationship needs to be better. And whoever they bring in next season, they need to be on the same wavelength. Otherwise, we will literally go backwards as a club. But I'll say Rio, Neoni, Lucky are all generational talents, Ozzy. I'd go along with Rio. I think he's generational talent. Neoni, I think he's a special talent. I wouldn't say he's quite generational is being used so much nowadays. So I'm not gonna say I wouldn't put Neoni in that category, even though I think he's a very special talent. Lucky, you've been banging on about Lucky, so I've got my eyes on Lucky now. Pause, because you're saying he's generational talent, so I haven't seen it. I've only seen bits and bobs of him, so I don't really watch him week in, week out. I'm not sure if you do either, Bo, but if you think he's generational talent, then let's see. Let's see once he makes it into the first team. Bo, so why would we sign a new centre back when we have Lucky? Effing hate how we're moving with these big talents. I completely disagree with you. We need a centre back. Why would you not think we need a centre back? You happy with Konate and Virgil van Dijk? And you think Lucky is good enough to be third choice? Come on now. That's not how we should move as a big club. That's not right. So I don't even know how to word it. I'm quite surprised by that comment. We've got two centre backs. So if Konate is injured, you think Lucky is going to save the day? I disagree. I strongly disagree with that. Okay, that's my match review segment. Let's move on and talk about some of the rumors that have been circling today. So one is a centre back. So Bo might not like this, so Bo might want to cover his ears. But we are going to talk about centre back. So the current rumor is that Liverpool are set to sign Club Brugge's Ecuador defender Joe Ordonez in January for a fee of up to 43 million. Chelsea have pulled out of the race to secure his services. Inter Milan were linked with the club, linked with the player, but have also not continued their pursuit of signing him. So the fee is reportedly around £35 million plus 8 million in add-ons. That's the reported transfer fee right now. And it's no secret that Liverpool are looking to bring additional centre backs for 2025/2026 season. So my thoughts on that, yes, please, because I've been speaking about this defender for a couple of months now. I watched it. I haven't watched him live. To be fair, I watched a lot of compilations, and he's a player I feel like that could make a difference. He'll provide strength and depth in our squad. Whether he's ready to displace Konate right away remains to be seen. I feel like he has the potential to do that. And if Konate is having a dire performance, which he has done a lot of times this season, then you've got a player like Ordonez who can come in and take his role. So that's what I need in my squad right now. I need players to challenge the centre backs, because quite frankly, they are not challenged. We have no Joe Gomez. God knows when he will return to the squad. We don't have Leone for the foreseeable future. In fact, he's probably ruled out for the rest of this year. I'm talking about 2026. So we've got a lot of gaps in our squad. We don't have Konsa anymore. We don't have these players anymore. We've got Virgil van Dijk and Ibu Konate. Ibu Konate also has an injury record. If he was to pick up an injury, it's Virgil and who else? Bowl is saying Lucky. I don't think Lucky's ready to be in the first team. And it's not because of his age. For me, I don't think he's quite good enough right now. That's my point of view. So we need further centre backs or further additions to our squad. That is why we have been strongly linked with the likes of Mark Gahey. Yes, that move never materialized in the summer, but just because that never materialized, the demand or the requirements of adding another centre back has not been dismissed. We still need another centre back at least in this window. So for me, this profile makes more sense than us going and signing a Bastoni, because those players are not available, number one, and number two, they will cost a lot of money in this current window. And I feel like this is a player that has great potential. And last year we were linked with another Ecuadorian in Pacho, and didn't want to pursue him, and he ended up joining PSG. And look where he is right now. So let's not make that mistake again. Let's go and sign this Ecuadorian defender. And from what I've seen, he looks like he's very comfortable on the ball. Good distribution, better than Konate, if I'm being honest with you guys. He's very comfortable playing on the left side or on the right side of a centre back role. He's played in the back three, he's played in the back four. Strong in terms of his physical presence, good header of the ball. He can carry the ball as well if need be. So for me, I'm fully on board on this signing. And the last time we had a centre back named Joel, he didn't do too bad, did he? So for me, I would be happy with this signing, and the fee is not that crazy in this modern day. So for me, this would be a good signing going forward. So hopefully, there's some truth to the rumor. Still a bit of speculation about it, but it seems to be that terms have agreed, and they've already revealed how much he's going to earn from a salary point of view. So let's hope there's some truth to this rumor, because I think he would be a welcome addition to the squad. Now, this defender, we were linked with him early in the morning, and then all of a sudden, we've been told that a deal has been agreed, according to Fabrizio Romano. So the tweet I'm going to read out loud is: Liverpool agree deal to sign 17-year-old Austrian centre back Ifeni Ndukwe from summer 2026. Agreement in place, valid from July. So he is a signing for next summer. His club, Austria Wien, accepted the proposal, and the player has also said yes to the Liverpool project. And Fabrizio also said that he is seen as a huge talent. And I'm not going to say I'm familiar with the player, because quite frankly, I wasn't until today. So, as all us fans do, we go on YouTube, we check out a few compilations, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was very impressed. Very, very impressed. He's a big fella for 17. He's 6'5", 6'6", very agile for his height and his posture. Um, very good on the ball. He's got a great distribution. He's got that Van Dijk trademark pass where he likes to hit across field to the winger. Um, good reading of the game. Still, it's still very raw, and as you probably are if you're a 17-year-old centre back. Um, and I still feel like he needs to bulk up a little bit more, even though he's quite tall, but he's more of a Langley sort of defender. So for me, he looks like he could be the next big thing. I really believe that. I've been impressed in terms of compilation. Of course, you know, some players look amazing compilation, but when you watch them in real life, it's another picture. But my sort of thought process is that who is he coming in to replace? Is he coming in to replace Joe Gomez? Does that mean that's the end of his Liverpool career? Or is he being viewed as a player to replace Leone for next season? Because Leone's got a huge injury in terms of the ACL, and he's expected to return at the end of this year. But with these sort of injuries, there can be delays in terms of the rehabilitation. So there's no guarantee he'll be back. And if he is fully fit, that doesn't mean he's match fit. If that makes sense. So um, I don't know in terms of you know who he's coming to play. My opinion is that maybe he's coming in to replace Joe Gomez, and then he's the fifth choice centre back, so providing cover and can definitely come in and stake a claim in the first team. And remember, Konate's future has not been sealed, so that's one less different. Then we only have Van Dijk, so we've got to sign a few players. So I don't think we'll sign one or two, might even be three centre backs in this window and the summer as a collective. So let's see. But in terms of what I've seen, from the compilations, he looks like a special talent. So, um, you know, vocals, lucky, generational. This kid looks more generational over talent to me. That's how I'm looking at it. So let's see how their career paths unfold. I'm sure Bo will not be pleased about that. Let me go through some of the comments before I move on to the next rumor. Um, where were we? Bo says Lucky should start over Konate even though when he's fit. So you think Lucky is better than Konate right now? Are you sure you're not his agent? Because you're speaking a lot of praise about a kid that is pretty much unknown to the football world. So I think we've just discovered who Lucky's agent is. You guys say I'm versus agent. Bo is definitely Lucky's agent. Ozan says, imagine Harvey going to MLS, Ozzy. We'll speak about that very shortly, Ozan. Yeah, damn, what a step back in his career. I'd rather the kid go to Dortmund or learn German. I hear you. We'll speak about him very shortly. Ozan Elliott can't go to any league apart from Saudi MLS this season. No, he can go to. He can't play his football in this country, but he can go to a European league. So he's allowed to do that. So it's just that he can't play in the same league. I think he can even play in the championship. I know that's very disrespectful to him, but he can't play in the same league. That's the rule there. He is allowed to move to Europe, and MLS and Saudi come into that mix, that mix as well. So no, that's not entirely correct. He is still able to go over to a European league. He can't go to a Palace. No, so he can't go to a Palace or Leeds because they're in the Premier League. Uh, but no, he's allowed to go into Europe. That is definitely a thing. I mentioned this in the last show as well. But Ozzy, do you think Odenis will play over Konate every game when slot is unchanged though? Oh, in charge though. Sorry, misread that. I'd hope so. Why bring players in if you're not going to give them an opportunity to stake a claim in the team? If he comes and trains really well and when he plays, he performs to a very good level, deserves an opportunity. Everyone needs to be given a fair opportunity in this team. So my answer to that would be yes, he has to be given a fair opportunity. If Slot doesn't, then Slot is the problem, which I've been saying for weeks and months and God knows how long. So that's the thing here. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. Let's let the player come through the door first, and then we can assess that situation a bit more. Bosa Ndeka is a good player, but of course the club don't want to sign him now. This club is crazy. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that it's not for now. To be fair, but when you sign young players mid-season and he is playing regular football there, Miles will just let him end the season. That might have been the incentive in terms of why we got the deal agreed faster than any other club, if that makes sense, because we basically said not on paper, but it's kind of like we'll loan him back to you guys for the rest of the season, and that's quite normal. That's happened plenty of times over the years. So I don't know. Ideally, I would like for him to be an option now, but then again, 17-year-olds coming into the Premier League and expected to start straight away is a little bit too much pressure. So maybe let him continue his development in his current team, and he comes in the summer or next season, I should say, ready to challenge for a space in the team. So that might be the way Liverpool are creating his pathway into the first team. Whilst Konate needs to be in the stands, I don't disagree. But if he's in the stands, who's playing centre back? That's my question there. It's all good about having an issue or a player that talking negative about a player that you don't like. But what do we do about the team then? Who comes in to replace him? There's no one there. Endo's out. You want Gravenberch to play there? I don't. So, there's not many solutions, which is why we need to dip in the market. And that's why we need to sign a player like Odinez. I'd sign two centre backs. I would have brought this kid in as well, if I'm being honest with you. But the club have done a business differently here. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I want to see Ndekwe go head to head against Willie Lucky Ozzie. Yeah, that would be interesting to be fair. I can't even bring their stats because Lucky doesn't play first team football, and this kid he does, so I can't even bring those up to be fair. But also we won't see that because the club loves Konate for some weird reason. Bo, you're not reading the room. There is no infatuation with Konate. We have no centre backs. You have an infatuation with Lucky, if I'm being honest with you. Other than that, there is no other option. Nalo is not an option. Nalo should not be anywhere near the first team. Lucky, good enough to be on the bench as cover, but he's not ready for the first team. This is the big leagues. This is the Premier League football we're talking about. This is make or break. If he comes in and flops in his debut, that can kill his career because he's killed a lot of careers in the past. So why is Lucky just because he's lucky doesn't mean he can't be unlucky in this regards. You have to manage him correctly still. So for me, we can't push talents like that. And I haven't seen enough to be like he's generational. I've just watched compilations of Ndekwe and I feel like he looks really special. And I feel like we've literally been a step ahead of the curve to get this player on board. And that might have been the reason why we allowed him to stay there for another 6 months, because that was a condition that they wanted that maybe other clubs were not agreeing to. So look, for your sake, I hope Lucky does get an opportunity and fits the bill in terms of how you describe him. I just haven't seen enough. And as it stands, I don't think he is ready for the first team. But that doesn't mean he will never be ready for the first team. I just don't think he's ready right now. Generation Talent off a few YouTube compilations. Yeah, make it what you will. I feel like with my, not to brag, but my talent ID I've not missed many. And I've been doing this podcast for a few years now. So go back, check your receipts if you need to. I feel like I have good talent ID. That's something I can probably say. Uh, I've been bowling lucky as Antonio coach. Yeah, he might as well be, to be fair. Oh my God, Ozzy, he can't play in the European leagues. No, he can play in the European leagues. This was presented the other day. I forgot who the journalist was, but it was presented that he can play in the European leagues. He just can't play in the Premier League. That's the condition. Uh, Only can go to club who doesn't have the same kind as the Prem. I well, the the league have the same calendar like us as well. So I don't know. That might be a bit of a grey area, but from what I've read, and I can't remember the journalist name. I'll have to might bring up in the next show. But I did present this in the previous show. Um, that they said that he could play. Let me see if I can bring up. Actually, I might have my notes from the previous show that I did. Uh, no, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have it saved. Um, we'll leave it for now. But look, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. I was gonna ask, was it? I don't think it was Dave or Cobb. I feel like it was. It wasn't Paul Joyce or anyone. Like, it was just. It was someone else. I don't know. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but I don't. I'm not too sure, to be fair. But I did present in the last show. Klopp played Endo, Fab, Williams, and Phillips at centre back, and we can't play a very good talent in Lucky there. Bo, put some context into that. Why did we play Endo, Fab, Williams, and Phillips there? Because they were generational talents? Of course they weren't. Do you remember that season? Van Dijk was injured. He had a career-threatening injury that ruled him out for the rest of the season. We used Joe Gomez. He got injured. We used Joe Matip. He got injured. Fab and Hendo ended up being the centre back pairing. So therefore, we had a big gap in our midfield because we didn't have adequate cover for the midfield roles when they're in defence. So the team was unbalanced. So therefore, by force, not because wow, we've got generational talents in Phillips and Williams in the ranks, let's bring him on board. No, that's not the picture. So if you think that's what it was, you're incorrect. That's not how it was. Those players were brought in by force. We had no choice. And then we brought in Ozan Kabak, shout out to Ozan, and Davis, who was a hologram he didn't make an appearance for us. So you've got to put context into it. It wasn't because they were generational talent. Phillips and Williams were never generational talent. We've been trying to get rid of Reece Williams. Even Morecambe don't want to sign him. We tried to give them to these League Two teams. They don't want him. So you can't tell me these talents were special at the time because they weren't at all. Daz Big Up Daz says, Ozzy, are you doing preview for Fulham tomorrow? Yes. I'll be doing it tomorrow. Time wise, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. UK time. So late evenings as always. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing my preview show tomorrow. Um, and well, so because of a crisis, and we are in crisis now, Ozzy, crisis and wants to leave FFS. So in crisis, you want to get rid of our only centre back available. That's what you want to do. Then fine. If that's your vision, that's your vision. But that's suicidal. To get rid of a centre back because you don't, or you think they're rubbish, or he wants to leave. Look, I could not care less about the politics behind the scenes. I've said it from the start. He's not going to sign a new contract. He's not going to do it. So if he's not going to do it, what should the club do? What they should have done was get their arse in check and sign Mark Gahey in the transfer window last summer. That's what should have happened. Mark Gahey should have been the first choice centre back. And if Mark Gay was first choice centre back, we would barely have seen Konate. He would have been dropped, or he should have been dropped in that situation. But we flopped. We never got that deal done. And now we're in a situation where we've got two centre backs out for the foreseeable future. Leon is out for 1 year. Gomez, I don't know when he's coming back. So we've got no options. So how can he say he's shit and he wants to leave, get rid of him? And who's playing centre back? Me or you? Because there is no other options. And Lucky is not the answer. I'm sorry. He's not the answer. He's young. He's untested. He barely gets man of the match's performances at his level. So what's the point of bringing in someone that is not going to improve us at all? And quite frankly, I don't want us to bring a young player who's not ready and you bring him in and you destroy his confidence altogether. Nalo is not going to play for Liverpool Football Club for the long-term future. We may have cured his confidence altogether based on performing 2 games against 2 red cards. So you need to manage these players correctly. This is not FIFA. We're not playing a video game here. So when you've got young players, you have to manage. You say you're a coach. You should know it better than me. I'm not a coach, but I know history will tell me you manage certain players the wrong way, it will mess them up. I'll give you an example. I don't want to use them example because what happened to him in his career is a bit unfortunate. But Jordan Ibe, he was supposed to be the next big thing. He was supposed to be the one that replaces Raheem Sterling. It was too much pressure for the kid. I knew people that personally knew him. So he's from South London. That's where I'm from. So I knew people that knew his family. That was a lot of pressure on him. A lot of pressure. And unfortunately, his career hasn't panned out the way he wanted to. Because we threw him too quickly. He wasn't ready for the first team. We sent him out on loan to Derby County, brought him back in January. That was a mistake. He was performing really well there. We brought him back to play left wing back under Brendan Rodgers. So this is what history tells you. You don't mess around with a young player's development. And that's why I've been very firm about this. You can't just bring someone because you think he's generational. He's not generational. He's not a generational talent. He's a good defender for his age, but he needs development. He needs time to grow. You don't rush these players straight into the first team. So it's all good about not liking a player, but read the room, put context into it. We've got two fit centre backs. If one is injured, we're not playing a back three because we can't play a back three with full backs. So you have to understand the situation. We have no options. Joe Gomez, God knows when he's back. Leone's out for the foreseeable future. He might not be back until next year, 2027. So because of that, you can't just say, oh, he's shit, get rid of him. That makes zero sense. So you have to think logically. You can't bring emotions into this all the time. Think from a footballing point of view. If I get rid of Konate, who comes in and plays? Endo? Endo's 5'6". He's not going to outplay or outjump anyone. Gravenberch, yes, he can play that role on an emergency basis. But then we miss out his physical presence in midfield. I don't want to see McAllister in my midfield. That kid, he's not even a kid. That guy will get bullied like a kid in that midfield. You are right in your comment there. We are in crisis, yes. But getting rid of Konate is not the solution. You're putting us back into relegation zone again. That's literally where we would be if we did that. So for me, that is just suicidal to even think, oh, Konate needs to get rid. And I'm not defending Konate. I've been saying all season he's been shit. I really have. I've been so disappointed with his performances today. Not today, in all season. But if you look at the game, if you look at today's situation, we can't just get rid of him. If we sign O'Donnell, then you've got competition. You've got 3 centre backs now. Now you can rotate a little bit. But if you can't rotate a player, you are forced to play him. If Lucky was so generational, he would be in the team. If he was ready-made, if he was Kubasi level, he would be in the first team right now. He is not Kubasi. Kubasi is a generational talent. I might be jumping the gun with this kid. I watched a few compilations. I'm a bit giddy about it, let's be honest. But Kubasi, I know, is that guy. He is that guy. He's 18 years old and he's that guy already right now. Those talents aren't made every day. Those talents are literally generational. And I hate the way people use that word now. The way people use the word legend and the way they use generational. Not every player is legend. Not every player is generational. So let's stop using these words every time a young player comes through. Yes, I'm saying this kid generational. He looks special to me. But lucky for me, is not generational talent. So look, let's see how it goes. But we have to be smart. We have to be logical in the way we think and in terms of Liverpool Football Club. Can't just be, oh, get rid of him, get rid of him. That's not how life works. You can't just get rid of players who don't like them. That's not how it works. If you want us to be in a situation where you're playing Ekatike at centre back, then go for it. Because that's where it's going to go to. Or Szoboszlai, who's been made into a makeshift player in every game. He plays 2-3 positions every game. That shouldn't be his role. He's not a utility player. He's not James Milner. So why is he being utilized like that? That's what we have to look into. We can't just use emotion and be like, get rid. I hate Konate's performances this season. I think he's been terrible. And I know he's not signing a new contract. I've been saying for months he's not signing a new contract. But the situation is we need him in the team. Whether he's a 5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 every game, we don't have a choice. So you have to think logically. It can't just be emotion, oh, get rid. Next comment from Daz is happy new year, Ozzy. Happy new year to you, Daz. Um, honestly, I was a stopgap. We might as well all be stopgaps. I've never played centre back in my life. Actually, I did when I was younger, but I used to play as an attacker more so than not. So might as well hire me to play centre back. That's how it is, but we don't have the options. And I'm not going to dip into the free agency market because that's not really the Liverpool way either. So I don't know. Honestly, big up the man Daz and Happy New Year as well. Bo says the crisis that Ibu is shit, Ozzy. That's the crisis. So what do you want to do? Who do you want to play against him? And don't say Lucky. What Lucky out of this? He's not in the first team. He's a youth player. So who plays centre back then? Let me know in the chat. Because for me, there is no option but to play Konate. And he's not that shit where I've got to play a 17-year-old kid in his replacement. That makes no sense either. Bosses agree, and that's why Edwards, Hughes and Edwards need to go. Look, I'll be honest with you. I've said this quite a few times. The signings we made in the summer, I don't think they were bad signings. A lot of people will disagree and say they were. I don't think they were. Because I know every time we made a signing, I was happy. And I would assess their way of playing and think, do you know what? The way we play, they will fit the bill. But this coach has flipped the script. He's completely changed the way we play. We play haram ball, as someone alluded to earlier on. And because we play in that manner, none of these players are going to flourish in the system. How can they? We're not a team that's surviving the Premier League in terms of our status. We're not that team. We are Premier League champions, but we're playing like this is unfamiliar territory. Like we don't know what Premier League football is about. That's what it feels like with this coach. So for me, with this coach, we can't just feel like, oh, we're gonna go back to our old ways because this is his way now. He inherited Klopp's team. He pretty much played Klopp's way to an extent to his capabilities. And right now, he's playing his ball. He's playing the real slot ball right now, and I don't like it. Quite frankly, if you like it, that's on you. I hate it. I struggle to watch Liverpool games right now. And in terms of Hughes and Edwards, we'll never know the full picture in terms of how the dynamics are in terms of recruitment and how much of an input the coach has. We'll never know the full picture. So we'll have to see. But what I will say is this: if we are to get a coach that fits our philosophy, but also can play the right brand of football with the current crop of players, this team will flourish. It really would. And I think if we were to make a few tweaks, we will have the completed squad next season. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. I'm not trying to heighten the expectations for next season because right now, this season, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know where we're gonna finish because we're not challenging for anything right now. Yes, we're in the Champions League, but can you see us winning the Champions League? I don't. Premier League, we're 12 points adrift. Even if we beat Arsenal 9 points, that's a lot, and that's not gonna happen. Carabao Cup, we got rid of that. We threw the young players under the bus. FA Cup is coming up soon. Let's see what we do against Barnsley. Maybe he'll do the same thing that he did in the Carabao Cup and not really take that game seriously. We don't know. Bo says Kubasi was untested. Kubasi was a very highly rated young player, not just in the Barcelona Academy, but in the world. Everyone knew about Kubasi. I knew about Kubasi before he made it into the first team. I don't think everyone knows about Lucky, if I'm being honest with you. So Kubasi was always regarded as the next big talent coming out of their academy, the Masia. That was the talk of the town. So it's not that he was untested. And you seem to think that, oh, just because someone's 17, 18, they should be in the first team. You've got to look at talent. Just because you look at age profile, that doesn't equal to adequate talent for me. Not every 17-year-old plays like every other 17-year-old. Some 17-year-olds are generational, if I want to use that term again. Some are just good for their age because they're making the right development. I think Lucky is that level. He's good for his age and he's making the right progress. But if you throw him into the fire, which is the first team of Liverpool Football Club, he will burn. That's my concern there. So let's not ruin careers here. Let's do things the correct way and let these young players learn, develop, understand the game from a physical, from a tactical point of view. And that's how they will grow. They won't grow if you just throw them in emergency situations. Oh, not a shit, let me throw Lucky in. That's not the way to go. That is suicidal, in my opinion. Most of every good talent needs a chance to shine, especially the academy. But that's why they continue to play academy football. And the next step after that is reserve slash under 23s. That's what it's labeled as now. That is the pathway. It's been the pathway for as long as I know. Youth, reserves, first team. It's that logical. Only special talents go from youth to first team or uh, reserve and straight into starting lineup. Very rarely happens. So you've got to look at it in terms of context. Konate thinks Liverpool shit, so why can't we think he's shit? So when has Konate said Liverpool shit? When has he said that? Send me a receipt. When has he said that Liverpool are shit? Just because he hasn't signed a new contract, he thinks Liverpool is shit? No. Remember, guys, we keep thinking from a football point of view. Think from a human level. This guy is looking out for himself. He's in a situation where his contract runs out in 6 months. He needs to do what's best for him and what's best for his family. So, i.e., Real Madrid, and we know this is a fact because it is history will show you that this is how they recruit players. They will talk behind the scenes with these players that they want to sign in the future. So Konate hasn't just spoken to Real Madrid all of a sudden. They've been in dialogue for a long time. I can't say because I'm there. I know for a fact they have been. Whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know in terms of the length, but they have definitely been dialogue. Just look at Trent. That should be enough evidence to prove what they do. That is the way they move. That's the way they operate as a club. And that is a name that they've wanted for a long time. And they want to get Saliba on board as well. But of course, that's not going to happen with him signing a new contract. So with Konate, he's going to see what's best for him. He's at a club where, let's be honest, I will say you think he's shit. That's your opinion. I think he has been shit this season, but as an overall player, I don't think he is shit. But when he plays alongside Van Dijk, he looks better than what he probably is. And I'll be honest with that. I think any defender that plays alongside Van Dijk has leveled up because of how great Van Dijk is. And maybe he doesn't get enough credit for that, but that's how I see it. So because of that, just because you think a player is shit doesn't mean that he thinks we are shit just because he's not signing a new contract. He's thinking, look, Liverpool offering me 100k a week, but Real Madrid they want to give me a 10 mil sign on bonus. They want to give me bonuses for goals. They want to pay. They want to increase my salary 3, 4 times. Would you decline that? Obviously, we love Liverpool. That's our team, right? But when you become a professional, even if he was Scouser, like Trent is, was that enough to keep him on board? No. Why did he not stay? He loves the club, doesn't he? He fought by himself. So Clartin won't publicly say Liverpool shit. He probably doesn't think Liverpool are shit. He just believes that maybe it's time to move on because he gets a better financial deal moving over to Real Madrid. Whether we like that as fans or not, we are entitled to that opinion. But that is the reality. That's what you have to look at. So it's all good to say he's shit, but we need him. We need that shit player right now. We ain't got no choice. End of 5'6". He's not. How tall is he? I'm gonna have to Google it now. He's not exactly tall, is he? He is. How tall he is? 5'10". All right, that's a little bit disrespectful, but you get my point. For a centre back, I'm expecting you to be tall and powerful, and he's not. He's not that, unfortunately. Rio's generation, does he play? Do you need me to answer that question like I've not alluded to it a bit more? Bo, you've got to listen to what I'm saying as well. I don't feel like you're listening to my words. You'll take one word and then just label it as that, oh, that's Ozzie's opinion. Oh, Slot's in. Oh, Slot hates this. And I've been Slot out for months. Slot for months. How much more do I need to have it on my graphic to say I'm Slot out? I'm not going to be a dickhead about it and say I'm Slot at every show. But what I will say is that when we've won a game, for example, I'll give the coach praise because there's a reason why I've won the game. Maybe because he played the right team selection or whatnot. But I'm not going to just disrespect the guy because I hate him or don't want to. I don't hate him. I just don't think he's the right fit for my club. In terms of Rio being a generational talent, I've said it several times. You've not just tuned in, you've been tuning from the start. I've said Rio is a generational talent. How many more times do I have to say that? But the coach, who is the Liverpool coach, he's the man in charge, will not play him because he doesn't believe he's the guy right now. That's the point. If he doesn't believe he's the guy, then he's the one that calls the shots. I don't call the shots. You don't call the shots. So that's what you have to look at. Also, I told you about one of my players saying he was going to leave after the season. He didn't play a single minute after that. It's not that hard. So how many centre backs do you have in your squad? Let me know how. Did you have two centre backs? Let me know how many centre backs you've got in your squad. Because if you had two and he was the second choice, and now you play someone else in his position who's not a normal centre back, you're gonna have problems. And I'm not saying you're a bad coach or anything like that, but my opinion is based on a professional game. I don't think that's gonna work. But that's for you to figure out. That's not me to get involved there. Tajai said, did we get Mark Gay? No, we didn't get Mark Gay, and I don't think we will. To be honest with you, I know a lot of fans believe that we'll get him in the summer. I don't think we will. I think that ship has sailed, and I believe he'll probably move on to a foreign club, like a Bayern, maybe win a Real Madrid. Who knows? Grav versus Fulham. Uh, Jones, suppose I verts in midfield. Yeah, but you're making Szoboszlai play in a deeper role in that position. But I feel like you lose a lot of that defensive skill or that defensive assurance if you put Grav in centre back. Bolsa, did everyone know about Gerrard? Yes, I did. I don't know if you didn't. I knew about Gerrard coming through the youth ranks. Same with Michael Owen. I knew about Michael Owen when he was 16. That's when I became a Liverpool fan because I knew there was a kid, like all my older cousins and all my older like fans, Liverpool fans that I knew growing up would tell me, "We've got a next kid coming through, Michael Owen. Remember his name. When he comes on, you'll see what he's about." And then months later, he made his debut. I was like, "Oh shit, okay." He was talk of the town. He was breaking records left, right, and center for Liverpool, but even before Liverpool, for his school, he was in the team in his region. He was breaking records left, right, and center. So you hear about stuff like this. So yes, I knew about Gerrard. I knew about my clone as well. Others needs to start lucky against Barnsley. I hope he does. I hope he does. Um, based on lucky, based on what Bo says about lucky, you expect him to start against Barnsley. If not, then there's a bit of an issue there. When he won't sign a contract, would you sign a Liverpool contract or Real Madrid, Ozzie? I'll be honest with you. Of course, being a Liverpool fan, my stance will always be to sign a contract for Liverpool. Of course, it will be, but I'm not in their situation. I'm not a professional footballer. I don't know the reasons in terms of why Trent left. Maybe he felt he wasn't treated fairly or whatnot. He will have his own reasons in terms of why he moved on. I'm not defending him because I still believe that's one of the worst moves he's done. I think if he was still at Liverpool, he would have definitely helped us, and I think he would progress as a player going forward as well. But he went for the money. So it depends what you stand for. For me, as a kid, the dream was to be a professional footballer, and of course, if I could choose the club, will be Liverpool. It goes without saying, right? But if I was at Liverpool and things didn't pan out for me, like in Harvey, who we spoke about today, you feel a certain type of way, right? You would feel like, oh, me being a Liverpool fan should be enough to show you guys that I'm here for the full cause. And I might not be Salah's level, but I can definitely chip in and do a job. Look how he's getting treated. So you can't defend that. But to answer your question, of course it's Liverpool. For me, it's definitely Liverpool. But, everyone has their own situation. Konate isn't a Liverpool fan from age, you know, so that's what you got to look into. Trent don't love the club. He's a rat. Yeah, he's a rat, but he's a Scouser. He came through the ranks, so you can't tell me he never loved the club. It's just that he went for money over legacy. Simple as that. Why did JR stay here, though, Ozzie? Because he loved the club. But remember, he never retired at Liverpool. He went to LA Galaxy, so don't forget that as well. But he left the club because he was forced out. Similar situation to what probably Salah's going through, where he's been disrespected by the coach. He's been asked to be a squad player. And when you're a player of that stature that is renowned to be the first name of every team sheet, whether it's club or international level, you're gonna feel a certain type of way. And I don't care who you are. As men, we have egos. So if you're a player of that stature, of that ability, and someone like Brendan Rodgers tells you, "Oh, you're going to be my squad player next season," I'd leave as well. So don't forget, he left Liverpool, but he loved the club, and he rejected a lot of moves to stay with us. Yes, Trent ended up moving to Real Madrid, but we know the reasons. I don't need to say in black and white. It's obvious. He went for the money, and that could be his ambition to just earn as much money. Why is everyone going to Saudi? What, everyone dreamt to play for Saudi Pro League? Of course not. Let's not be silly now. Imagine someone giving Ozzy a height 4 inches short travel license. Yeah, I know that was a bit uncalled for on Endo, so I apologize to Endo. But yeah, my point is that he's not a centre back. He's not a built centre back, if that makes sense. So yeah. Honestly, I wonder if any other little player will win the Ballon d'Or while playing for the club, Ozzy. It is so hard to say. Um, I feel like Salah should have won one at some point, and I would say Virgil van Dijk. I think Virgil van Dijk was robbed. But with these sort of not competition, what's the word? These sort of like award ceremonies, it's all driven by politics. And that's not me making excuse for Liverpool players. It's just that they're not really looking at it from a footballing point of view. Like it's very uncommon for a centre back to get Ballon d'Or, and Van Dijk was exceptional that season, but he didn't get it. And I feel like they always just favor the attacker, and it's always someone that is the popular player, if that makes sense. So no, I don't know, but I really hope that we do see someone win the Ballon d'Or at some point, because the last one was Michael Owen, wasn't it? So, yeah, that was a very, very long time ago. So hopefully he does, or hopefully someone does in the squad. Um, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, of course we know every youth player down to the under nines, but did a United fan know Gerard? I don't care about United fan. What they got to do is this conversation. For me, I know for a fact there was a lot of players that there was a lot of interest in Gerard in his youth days. You can do your history, you can do your research. Ferguson tried to sign Gerard before he broke into the team. That's a fact. So there's always interest in these players. Obviously, we don't get the breaking news. 'Cause obviously, it's youth level, so you don't really get that kind of coverage. Of course, now you might do in this modern day, but in those times, you wouldn't really hear about stuff like that. But you do as those players develop and as they become household names. And he's mentioned Gerald has mentioned that Ferguson tried to sign him in his younger days. So yes, it does happen. But if a United fan doesn't know about Gerald, I could not care less personally. I'm gonna follow what's best for my career. And of course, when it's under nines, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who's in the under nines. I wouldn't even name you one kid that plays for under nines. But as they get closer to 14, 15, 16 years old, that's when you hear that, oh shoot, this guy is gonna be the next one. Like, I'll give you an example. I knew about Raheem Sterling before he broke into the team. Like I followed his career path from QPR. So in London, we knew there was a kid in QPR that was balling. Like we knew about him. And then when he moved over to Liverpool, he was 15 at the time, 15, 16. And then we had this game, I think it was against Southend, where we demolished them 9-0 in the FA Cup. And he scored about 4 or 5 goals that day as well. That's when you know this guy's going to be the next one in line to be in the first team. So when players have that kind of impact, you know. And of course, you know, in terms of how his career's panned out, unfortunately, he's not playing uh much, you know, in terms of, you know, football clubs. He's been frozen out at his current club. Had he stayed at Liverpool, God knows where we would have been. Maybe we would have won more trophies. He could have been, you know, really, you know, more successful, I guess. But you know, but at the same time, he went on to Man City for the money because that's what the best decision was for him at the time. That's what he felt. He won a lot of trophies there, but he doesn't get praised by City fans, and neither he gets the same praise from the other clubs like Chelsea that he's played for or Arsenal. So because of that, you know, he's might have hampered his development a little bit. To be fair, facts, bro. It's not a statistical analysis. It's a popular contest award. Yeah, it is. So that's why I don't feel emotional about Ballon d'Or if someone hasn't won it or like you know a few years ago. You know, especially when Liverpool players were in the rankings, I'm taking a lot more attention to it, right? But when I see how it gets unfolded, I'm like, I don't care about this. This is just a popularity contest. And when Salah's not even in the top 20, when he's had remarkable, like last year, he had a remarkable season, he wasn't even nowhere near winning the trophy. For me, that's an agenda right now. Whether it's racism or it's based on his religion, phrase it how you want. But we know the real deal. So for me, when those kind of agendas come into action, who cares? Who cares about it? It doesn't. It holds no weight, in my opinion. You said everyone knew about Kubasi. Um, you know, I speak to a lot of content creators, they all knew about Kubasi. So if you didn't, then you probably missed out in that regards. But you always hear about a special talent coming through. Like Yamal, that was a talent that they had been speaking about for about 2, 3 years. So there's always a player that you're like, next big thing, next big thing. Whether they become the next big thing is another discussion. But in this matter, he ended up being the next big thing, right? Kubasi, I think he's going to be one of the best centre backs for years to come. Hold that as a receipt, do what you want. But that's what I believe in. Even though Lucky is not well known, he could still be a good player. But you call him generational talent, so don't rephrase and say good player. You stick to your words. If you believe he's generational, don't change your mind. Stick to your guns. Ozan said, bro, Ozzie, keep an eye on Maynard Figueroa son Kayla. I've heard about Kayla. He's a striker not under 18. Yeah, I know about him. Also, Jabril C says son Kobe. Apparently, he was a striker like his dad, but has been converted to a centre back. Oh, I didn't know about it. I thought he was an attacker as well, but okay, he's been converted to centre back. That's interesting. Uh, Henry Farker is another. Haha, very funny. Okay, let's move on and speak about how we get. So, bit sad, but let's present the rumor. So, MLS side Charlotte FC want to sign the Liverpool midfielder until the end of the season on loan. Uh, Elliot hasn't come to the club. He's not returning, but he's likely to return soon. Unai Emery has revealed that the club were not convinced by Elliot and didn't want to give him any appearances as they would have triggered the buy clause, which we all know. I guess if you read in between the lines, if you don't know, but that is, you know, that is what became very evident because he only made a few appearances, and if he had made 10 appearances, he would have been, you know, the release was about the fee was about 35 minutes, so that would have been triggered, and they would have had to pay right away. Um, so I've read that he can play in Europe. So don't quote me on it completely because that's what I read. I presented in the last show. No one had a rebuttal, so you know, all of a sudden it's a rebuttal today. But I believe he could play in Europe. But if not, I would rather he go to the Saudi league, if I'm being honest with you. Um, but let me give you my take then rather than the reality because I feel like people mix that and then don't understand what I'm actually trying to say. So me as an Aussie would like Elliot to come back to Liverpool for the rest of the season because I feel like he would be a viable option for us. He'd be an option for the left for the right wing, and it would be an option for the number 10 role. I feel like he could definitely play a part. Now, we have a coach not called Ozzy. We have a coach called Arne Slot who doesn't rate the player. Let's not be around the bush. He doesn't rate him. So therefore, chances are not going to happen for him. And that's why you're getting links to these other clubs because the coach doesn't believe he's good enough and doesn't want him around the team at all. So I would like him to come back and be part of the squad, but that is not the reality. Whether I like it or not, that is not the reality. You can't change what's real. So the reality for Harvey is that what does he do next? His current club, which is Aston Villa, do not want him because if he stays there, a release clause is triggered. So what happens with him? If there's interest from Saudi, I would say go to Saudi. You earn a nice paycheck there. You will be playing in a part of the world that is a nice climate. It's become a nice place to live in terms of in terms of Riyadh and Jeddah, especially if you're non-Muslim. Um, and it's a league that is improving. I know some people would disagree. I think the Saudi league is probably superior to the MLS because you've got better talent playing there because there are players that have come from Europe, if that makes sense. So I think the standards are a little bit higher, but not largely, if I'm being honest with you guys. But I don't like this. I don't like the way Javier is getting treated right now because I don't think he deserves it. I think he's such a talented player. And yeah, not to sound rude, but I think he picked the wrong club. I think, he did have offers from Tottenham, which probably might not have helped, to be fair. But he had an offer at Red Bull Leipzig. They wanted a replacement for Xavi Simons, and he ended up going to Aston Villa. So one, he'll have to, take responsibility, put his hands on and say that's how it is. Uh, but I would say if he's getting a nice paycheck from Saudi, go there for 6 months and then come back into Europe in the summer. MLS, you could go there. I think Charlotte FC. I think Zaha plays there, so he could just go there. At least you'll have another, British person there, so you can, have a bond with, I guess, to that extent. But even just to say Saudi MLS doesn't fit well for me. I don't think Harvey really deserves to be playing. I think he should be playing in the Premier League. I think he should be playing in Europe. But unfortunately, his current situation will have to push him to one of those leagues. And I would say go to Saudi League. Whether anyone agrees or disagrees, that's your opinion. But that's what I think he should do. So let's see what the future holds. But if it was my choice, I would keep Harvey Elliott until the end of the season and then reevaluate his situation in the summer. Let's see. Man's keeping receipts on Bo. Oh, I want to keep receipts on Lucky because Bo talks about him every show that I do. So I don't even have to write it down. It's Oz and you even said it as well. You're intrigued to see how he does when he plays. So I guess you're holding receipt as well. So for me, um, it's not receipt. If someone talks about a player a lot, it's gonna stick in my mind. Oz said, no, not there, Ozzy. There's not enough competition. Great coaches down there, bro. But I haven't really followed the MLS for quite some time. So unless you can give me a bit more information in terms of how the league, if the league has improved, then maybe that is a better destination. But I feel like Saudi is just the go-to league now, and you still got quality players there, whether they're in their prime or towards the latter stage of their careers. They're still elite talent, in my opinion. Your Benzema's, your Ronaldo's, Sadio Mane's, those players, they're still there. So that's how I would look at it. And I'm only saying it for the short term. I'm saying it until the end of the season. Play there for 6 months, earn a few M's, and then come back to England, and then or come back to Europe, I should say, and find yourself a European club. I say England because he would have to come back to Liverpool, and then we have to reevaluate his situation again. So that's what I would do. You know, he's still going to come back as a Liverpool player, but we need to make sure that he picks the right move next time. Um, well, let's see. Let's see. It's such a shame. He doesn't deserve this. I feel like he's such a talented player, but in terms of his personality and the way he carries himself, like, I feel like he's done really well so far in his career. So this was not the way his career should have folded, in my opinion. But also, you know what I love, Ozzy? A youth player who goes under the radar by everyone, and Lucky is one of those. A generational talent, but does not have the media power to get some love. Give me some names that a player has gone under the radar and become that guy. Because in this modern day where there's a lot more eyes on youth players, it's very hard to go under the radar. So give me some names if you know some. Um, and Ozan, this is why I don't need to write on the receipt. Just look at that comment there. He said he's generational talent in caps. So yeah, that's why. It's not easy for me to forget. Ozan says rather MLS than Saudi, bro, to be honest, just for pure footballing reasons, nothing more. I hear you. But I would go Saudi personally. I think the footballing level is higher than MLS. I don't watch a lot of MLS, but I've watched a few Saudi games recently, and it's not Premier football, but it's played at a better level in terms of the level of play, the speed of the game, and but you have good players in those leagues as well. So I would say go to Saudi and earn yourself some big bucks. Uh, I disagree with you on that. That's fair. Let's see where he goes. If he goes to Charlotte, that's all good. But MLS for me is not a league that has progressed over the years. Uh, but you know, if you think it has, then that's all good. But also it's crazy that just to sack Slot and everything will be better, but no one will do it. That's crazy. Well, I'm hoping the owners do it. That's why I said if they got big balls, they will sack the coach. I don't know if they do, to be fair. So let's see what they do. MLS plays Mexican teams. They have better competition, but I'm just talking about MLS as in the league, not the teams that compete in those competitions, like the equivalent to our Champions League. I'm not really talking about that. And I don't know where Charlotte are in the league if they're playing that competition. But as a whole, in the MLS, in the North American League, I don't think it's improved since the introduction of the Saudi Pro League in the last few years. You know, when you've got players like Benzema, Ronaldo there, like you know, there's a reason why players are going there for big money, but also um, it improves the level of the league when you install these type of players there. Honestly, bro, those big names are just cashing in, tax-free salaries in it. Look up their coaching setups, their developmental programs and structure below standards, bro. What manager that Bo really likes is there right now in Zagi. So you know, make of it what you will. But I feel like it's better than the MLS. That's just my opinion. Don't you want to be a generational player, Ozzy? No, I'm old now. I'm not. I'm not. That's why I'm doing a podcast. Otherwise, I would be a generational player. But of course, everyone thinks when they play football that they are. They, as in, you have confidence in your ability, right? But no one says I want to be a generational. You say you want to be the best. I've never ever heard anyone say I want to be generational. So in regards to that question, I'm old, so my days are long gone. So I'm not playing football to that level. But if I was a young kid coming through, I want to be the best. I want to play in the best league, the best team. I'm hoping Liverpool are matching my ambitions. Then that's how I would look at it. So you know, let's see what happens. Um, Ozan's laughing there. Lucky. So you think he's generational? Okay. Well, we're all gonna remember this, by the way. So you know, you gotta hold on to your opinions then. I don't want it to be altered because you've been very firm on Lucky being generational talent, and I just don't see it. Ozan says Ozzy is already a generational agent for a certain Florian Richard Verts. Yeah, you called it, Ozan. You called it. I can't argue with that. Okay, last rumor of the show, and that is regarding Salah. So the rumor is that there's reports coming from Italy that AS Roma want to re-sign the Egyptian king. Um, According to La Repubblica, Roma view Salah as a marquee signing and a potential statement of intent ahead of next season. Any approach would have to wait until the end of this campaign, obviously, as the clubs already have filled their non-EU slots for the current season. So my thoughts on that, it would be nice from Roma's point of view to reunite with a former player, but they don't have the capacity to bring Salah back to Italy or back to AS Roma because they don't have the financial power to do that. So for me, Salah will most likely move on at some point to go to Saudi Pro League. That's the destination I see him going. I don't see him staying in Europe. I don't see him going to MLS. I don't think that appeals to him. I think he'll go over to Saudi Pro League where he will be treated like a king, and rightly so, because of his stature in the Arab world. He is by far the most popular individual in that part of the world, as well as North Africa and Asia. So put that together, you've got someone there that is going to be bringing eyes to the league once again, like Ronaldo did when he first joined Al Nassr. So it's going to be the same thing with Salah, possibly even more, if I'm being honest with you. So no, I think that's going to be his destination. Whether it's this month, I doubt, to be fair, or next or this coming summer remains to be seen. But I'm not quite ready for Salah to go. I know some fans are. I'm not quite there yet. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see. Uh, Last comment of the show. Bo said, "Was Salah a generational talent, Ozzy? Did he have the media power?" So when he came through the ranks in Egypt, he was labeled as the Egyptian Messi. So let that paint the picture for you. So I knew about Salah. I feel like I'm not trying to brag it. I'm not bragging it. It's just that growing up, especially in my younger days, I would follow a lot of football all over the world. Now I can't. I don't have the time. But growing up, I would follow all sorts of leagues and try and discover different talents. Wish I had content at that time because that would have been great to showcase. But very highly rated in Egypt. He was like in Egypt, he was regarded as the next big thing. And I can only talk about his nation. I'm not going to talk about the world because you know, unfortunately, talent that come from Africa, they're not highly regarded unless they're making to Europe, if that makes sense. So he was regarded as the Egyptian Messi. Came over to Basel, and Basel he made his name. That's where I knew about Salah personally. Salah didn't even play right wing; he actually played left wing for Basel. Um, and then Chelsea signed him as well. But they signed him to pee us off because that was the season where we were going for the title under Brendan Rodgers. They made him signing in the January window, and we didn't have the financial power to get the player. People were trying to get him for 8-9 million. Chelsea ended up signing for about 12 to 15 million. Um, so we couldn't match that. And that really affected us in where we maybe could have won. And Salah would have been a Liverpool player before he actually joined us. So to answer your question, he was regarded as a generational talent in Egypt. Yes, he was. In the world scale, I don't know, but I did know there was a player coming through in Egypt that could be a big name in years to come. That's what I knew. Whether they deliver or not, it's always the big question. But thankfully for us, he did. So that's why I'm pleased that he eventually joined us because I was quite annoyed that he didn't join us when he moved over to Chelsea because I didn't feel like it was the right fit for him, and it ends up being a reality there. But I'm glad that that move didn't hamper his career because he went there as a 20-year-old, 2021, and it completely killed his confidence, like it did for De Bruyne. But they both went to different leagues. So De Bruyne went to Wolfsburg, Salah went over to Italy, went to Fiorentina first, then he moved over to Roma. And his last season of Roma, he was phenomenal. I think he had 34 GA. Like he really hit the numbers there. And that's why the data metrics met the requirements for us. And that's why Michael Edwards really pushed for us to sign Mohamed Salah. So for me, I'm pleased that he joined us in the end. And I'm so grateful that he's played to the level that a lot of Egyptians would have said he's that guy, and I think he's delivered. Agendas will tell you, when I say agenda, I'm talking about rival fans. They will tell you no, it hasn't. But let's be honest, we all know they're hating, so it is what it is. Um, did Kwanzaa have the media power? No, he was highly regarded for his age. We sent him out on loan to Stockport. We brought him back thinking maybe he needs another loan, and another loan never materialized. And we utilized him because we had not a lot of options. We had Joe Matip injured for large parts of that season, and that actually ended up being Matip's last season. And Kwanzaa came in and took on his role and made it his himself, made it his position in the team. So that was a circumstance where an opportunity was presented, and it might have been earlier than planned, but sometimes that happens in football. And he took it with both hands and made a name for himself. So not every young talent has to be generational to be successful. I feel like that's quite common. I feel like I've voiced that as well. And you're throwing all these questions at me, and I've got an answer for it. I'm not saying I'm an encyclopedia, but my point is that every player is a different situation. Kwanzaa wasn't regarded as. I think he's probably. I'll be honest with you. He was probably as highly rated as Lucky is right now. Quite frankly, because Lucky is not regarded as generational talent to anyone but you, Bo. I've not heard anyone say that. So you must be his agent. I can't think of any other way, or you're related to him. So, in other ways, Kwanzaa, he was destined to play for Liverpool at that stage because the pathway is cleared up for him, and he took his chance. And look, he made a name for himself. Had some ups and downs in terms of personal life and all that sort of stuff. The new coach that came in didn't fully believe in him, and therefore he's had to move on. But he's making a name for himself at Bayer Leverkusen. So not everyone is generational. And another thing, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't like people using the term legendary. Not everyone is world class either. But that gets thrown around so much now from people. I'm not saying anyone in the chat by the way, but people that I see online that don't even watch full matches. They just watch highlights and that's their opinions are based, or they look at statistics, which I find very, very annoying in this day and age. But it's the way it goes, unfortunately. But also, a lot of players don't have that, but could still be fantastic. I never said they can't be fantastic. You basically told me that Lucky is better than a player who, argue if you will, was regarded one of the best centre backs last season. Argue if you will. In Europe, he was probably one of the best centre backs last season. So that's what you're comparing to, if that makes sense. Honestly, a lot of Egyptians still rate Mohamed Aboutrika Ozzie as Egypt's best player ever because he won a ton of AFCONs. Yeah, I get that, but Bo's asking me, was Salah regarded as a generational talent? And he was coming out of Egypt. They call him Egyptian Messi. That is literally that's how I knew about him. Klopp started Morton away against Spurs. What does that mean though? Is Morton generational? I don't know what your point is there. Yes, he started Morton. I think Morton should have got more opportunity on the slot, but he didn't because that's the reality. It didn't happen for him. He's been moved on. I feel like we actually could have used Tyler Morton this season. We needed someone like that in our midfield, but he's not here. What's the point of thinking about someone that's in the past now? But I reckon if Egypt wins AFCON this year, he'll be undisputed all-time goal player for Egypt because Botrica never left the country, never played in Europe. Yeah, but it depends who you talk to because I've got friends that are Egyptian, and I don't think Abu Trika would have been. Maybe it's the age thing, I don't know, but I don't think they would have regarded him as the GOAT ever. They would have gone based on plays that they've watched. So, like over the years, or let me think of some names. So, Mohamed Zidane was a player that was a lethal striker for them. Mido, who was fantastic at Ajax, alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He was a special talent. Amir Zaki, he was a fantastic striker for Wigan. Um, now there's a lot of players there that made a name for themselves, but you know it's different in terms of how their careers folded in club football, but also in internationally as well. So with Abu Trika winning more trophies, more AFCONs for Egypt, of course, the general public will look at him as the GOAT. Um, Personally, I think Salah is the GOAT. I'm not Egyptian, but that's my opinion. He's the GOAT. The way he's raised the profile of Egyptian football, no one has done that. Like Mido has said that in interviews over the years. So, and he was regarded as the poster boy of Egyptian football at one point. So, everyone's got opinion and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But obviously, I'm not Egyptian, so I can't say because I've not followed their whole history. But I would say that Salah is definitely the GOAT from Egypt, in my opinion. That's why I call him the Egyptian king. Simple as that. Bosses, you will eat your words on Lucky Ozzie, maybe not in a Liverpool because of slot, but in another top club, and I will be here. I look forward to that day. I look forward to that day. Bosses, a good talent can start games in the Prem, so why can't Lucky? He's a young prospect. That's how I'm going to label Lucky now. A young prospect. A young prospect means that he's not ready. He's someone for the future, not for right now. He is a young prospect. That's how I'm going to label Lucky. If Klopp was there, he would actually call Lucky a Rolls Royce as a centre back. I disagree. That's just your opinion there. Um, but that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning. I've gone longer than planned. I was not planning on doing a 2-hour show, but here we are. Shout out to Ozan, shout out to Bo, and shout out to Daz for your endless comments. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, I will be doing a match preview of our game, which is of course Fulham versus Liverpool. So we'll be doing that show tomorrow. Timing 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. UK time. So the best thing to do is hit that notification bell so you know exactly what time I'm scheduled to go live. And then reluctantly, I will be doing the watch along of that game. Fulham versus Liverpool. Let me see what time that match is. I believe it's 2 or 3 o'clock. Let's have a look. It's 3 o'clock UK time, so I will be live to do that, and yeah, hopefully we get a result. Hopefully we get a better performance. I'm more focused on performances, if I'm being honest, but of course the result is what counts. And then we'll do a match reaction show later in the evening. Before we close, Ozan says the Lucky conversation is an all-time great conversation on this channel. Both said it will continue. I'll be honest with you, if it continues, I'm probably gonna have to mute you guys because we can't talk about Lucky every show. That is just not gonna run for me. So I might have to be a bit selective with the comments if that's the way it goes, just because I want the show to flow based on what I've got lined up, as in talk about what we want to talk about. I'm not here to talk about Lucky. Bo, you are more than welcome to create your own channel and create a channel dedicated to Lucky. And if you want me to do a collab with you, I'm happy to come on your show. But otherwise, I'm not talking about Lucky on every show. That's not why I'm here. If I am, then I'm probably going to close the channel very, very soon. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.